Okay, so get this. You guys sent us this 17th century play called The Lovesick Court. And wow, it's got a kingdom in crisis, a love triangle, even a talking oracle.
Oh yeah, The Lovesick Court. I know this one. It's a wild ride for sure.
It really is. So we're going to do a deep dive into all the drama.
What's so cool about this play is how Brome, the playwright, he mixes all these different elements so well. You know, you've got the romance, the political stuff.
Yeah.
But then he also brings in these really timeless themes, like think about friendship, ambition, fate.
It's like he takes these big universal ideas and makes them feel so personal and real.
Exactly. And he does it with this amazing sense of humor. You'll be laughing one minute and then totally on the edge of your seat the next.
So true. Okay, so the play kind of throws us right into the action. We've got the king of Thessaly, and the poor guy's on his deathbed.
Yeah, the king's not doing so well.
And to make matters worse, there's no heir apparent, no son to take over the throne. So what's a kingdom to do?
Well, they have this law, right? It says the next ruler has got to be either a nobleman who's also a soldier or a general's son. Or, get this, Udina's husband.
Udina, that's the king's daughter, right?
That's her. So yeah, talk about a pressure cooker, right?
Good time. And then, just when you think it can't get any more complicated, boom! Two contenders enter the scene. Philargus and Philocles, twin sons of this super famous general.
Ah, the twins. This is where things get really interesting.
Right. I mean, having twins competing for the throne, that's got to be tricky.
It definitely adds a whole other layer to the power struggle. But, you know, it's not just about the plot. Brome is using these twins to explore some deeper stuff, too.
Like what?
Well, think about it. They're identical, right?
Yeah.
So it makes you question, what makes them different? What choices will they make that set them apart?
It's like nature versus nurture, but with a crown on the line.
Exactly. And then there's the question of ambition. Will their brotherly bond survive when the stakes are this high?
And don't forget, they both love Udina. So you've got this love triangle mixed in with all the political drama.
It's a recipe for chaos, that's for sure. But it's also what makes the play so captivating.
Okay, so we've got these twins vying for power, and then out of nowhere comes Stratocles. He's this powerful lord who's got the common people on his side.
Ah, yes, Stratocles. He's a real wild card. You know, he's got this charisma, this ability to connect with the everyday folks.
Basically, he's the people's champ.
He is, which makes him a serious threat to the twins. And it's interesting because he represents a different kind of ambition. The twins, they come from this background of traditional nobility and virtue.
Yeah, right.
But Stratocles, he's more of a Machiavellian figure, you know, the ends justify the means kind of guy.
So he's willing to play dirty to get what he wants.
Oh, yeah. And it makes you think, what is Brome trying to say about how power is won? Is it all about, playing by the rules, or is there a darker side to ambition?
Good question. And it gets even more intense when the king, desperate to settle this whole succession mess, decides, hey, let's just marry Udina off.
Talk about a quick fix right there.
Right. Except, of course, both twins are madly in love with her. Talk about adding fuel to the fire.
Oh, yeah. It's a classic dilemma. You've got love and duty clashing head-on. And the twins, being honorable dudes that they are, they turn to the Delphic Oracle for guidance, hoping for some divine intervention, you know?
But let me guess, the Oracle doesn't exactly give them a straight answer.
No way. If anything, it makes things even more complicated.
It's like asking for directions and getting a riddle instead.
Exactly. It's like the Oracle enjoys messing with people's heads.
So what does the Oracle say?
Well, it's pretty cryptic. Basically, the message is, don't fight over Udina, but pursue your fortune, which is her.
Wait, what? So their fortune is Udina, but they shouldn't fight over her. How does that even work?
That's the million-dollar question. And that's where Brome's brilliance shines through. This riddle is loaded with dramatic irony. We, the audience, can totally see how this could go wrong.
Oh, totally. You just know those twins are going to misinterpret things. It's like watching a train wreck in slow motion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it makes us question this whole idea of fate versus free will, right? Are the twins destined to clash? Or can they somehow escape the prophecy?
All right, so we got these two brothers head over heels for the same woman, trying to decipher a confusing prophecy. And meanwhile, Stratocles is probably lurking in the shadows, plotting his next move. So what happens next?
We'll get this. The twins decide to put their brotherly bond above everything else. They choose to sacrifice their own happiness for each other.
Hold on, they're just going to give up on Udina.
Yeah. Instead of fighting for her, they each try to convince her to marry the other twin.
Wow. That is not what I was expecting. Talk about putting your brother before yourself.
Right. I mean, it's such a powerful statement about their character.
Okay, so Philargus starts trying to win Eudina over, but for Philocles.
Exactly. And then Philocles, seeing how selfless Philargus is being, he does the same thing. He starts wooing Eudina, but on behalf of Philargus. It's crazy.
This is like the opposite of a typical love triangle. Instead of trying to outdo each other, they're practically tripping over themselves to give her up.
It's truly remarkable. And you can imagine Eudina is completely overwhelmed by this whole situation.
Yeah, I bet. It's like, guys, I'm right here. Can someone just ask me what I want?
Right. But it gets even more complicated. Eudina has this vivid dream where the twins are dueling, like fighting to the death. And she takes it as a sign that if she chooses either one of them, it will lead to disaster.
Whoa, so now we've got a cryptic prophecy from the oracle, 2 incredibly selfless suitors, and a premonition of doom. That's a lot for one woman to handle.
Yeah, talk about pressure. And what's fascinating is that this dream adds another layer to the whole thing. Like, is it a divine message? A warning from the gods? Or is it just her own subconscious anxieties playing out?
It's like Brome is blurring the lines between the supernatural and the psychological. He's not giving us easy answers, which makes it even more intriguing.
Exactly. It makes you really think about what's driving these characters and what forces might be at play in their lives.
So while Eudina is dealing with all this inner turmoil, guess who sees his chance to make a move?
Oh, you know it's got to be Stratocles.
Yep. He's not one to let a good crisis go to waste. And so he hatches this plan to kidnap Eudina, figures he can force her to marry him, and then bam, he's the new king.
Classic Stratocles, right? Always thinking a few steps ahead.
And to make things even smoother, he starts spreading this rumor that the twins killed each other. Talk about adding insult to injury.
He's ruthless. He's using the twins' own selflessness against them. It's like he represents the dark side of ambition, you know, the part that's willing to exploit anything and anyone to get to the top.
It makes you wonder if Brome was making a commentary on the politics of his time, you know? Like, was he drawing parallels to real-life figures who were scheming and manipulating their way to power?
It's definitely possible. I mean, The Lovesick Court might be a comedy, but it's also got these sharp observations about human nature, about how easily ambition can turn into something, well, kind of ugly.
It's like he's saying, hey, be careful what you wish for because power can corrupt even the best of intentions.
It really makes you think about how far people will go, right? I mean, Stratocles is like the ultimate schemer.
He really is. But thankfully, his plan kind of backfires in the most hilarious way.
Oh yeah, this is where things get really funny.
So picture this. Stratocles is all set to kidnap Eudina, right? He's got it all figured out.
He thinks he's so clever.
Exactly. But then, guess who shows up and totally ruins everything?
I'm on the edge of my seat. Who is it?
A group of country folk? Like these simple, well-meaning folks who just happen to be super loyal to the king?
No way. The rustic mechanics saved the day.
They totally do. It's this amazing scene, pure comedy gold. Brome, he uses these characters to like turn everything upside down.
I love it. It's like he's saying that even the most ordinary people can have a huge impact on events.
Exactly. It's a good reminder that heroes can come from anywhere. So Stratocles' plan is busted. The twins are thankfully alive. They're hailed as heroes. And Eudina's safe. What happens to Stratocles after all that?
Well, this is where Eudina really shows her true character. I mean, this guy tried to kidnap her, but she's moved by how selfless the twins are, and she sees that Stratocles is actually, like, remorseful.
So she forgives him, just like that.
She does. She actually pleads with the king to pardon him.
Wow. That's some serious forgiveness. I don't know if I could do that.
It's pretty incredible, right? And it really speaks to the play's themes of mercy and redemption. Like, even someone who messes up that badly can find a way back.
Look, a good message. So, crisis averted, villain redeemed, happy ending, right?
Oh, not so fast. We still have the whole succession issue hanging over everything.
Right. The king still needs to pick a successor.
Exactly. The king makes it clear that he prefers Philocles, but he also wants to respect Eudina's wishes, so he gives her 5 days to choose between the twins.
5 days to decide the fate of a kingdom. Talk about pressure.
Right. And get this, the play actually ends before we find out who she picks.
He leaves us hanging. Seriously, after all that drama, we don't get a resolution.
Nope. Brome leaves it totally open-ended, which, you know, it might seem frustrating.
It kinda is.
But it's also brilliant. Think about it. This open ending makes us, the audience, part of the story. We get to imagine what happens next.
It's like he's saying, okay, you've heard the story, now you decide how it ends.
Exactly. And it forces us to think about all the themes we've been discussing. Fate versus free will, ambition versus virtue, the power of love and forgiveness, they're all still in play.
So if we were in Udina's shoes, who should we choose?
Well, it's a tough call. On the one hand, there's Follies. He's the guy who caught her eye first. And he's got that classic hero vibe going on. You know, brave, charming, always does the right thing.
He seems like a safe bet.
He does. But then you've got Philocles. He's a little more introspective, maybe even a bit melancholy. There's a depth to him that's really intriguing. And don't forget, he's the king's favorite.
Right, so marrying Philocles would probably make things a lot smoother politically.
It probably would. But ultimately, it's Udina's decision. The play really emphasizes her agency, her right to choose her own path, even though it's within these really strict societal expectations.
And then there's that dream she had. The one where the twins are dueling. It's like a warning that her choice could have some serious consequences.
Yeah, that dream adds a whole other layer of complexity. Maybe there is no right answer. Maybe happiness lies in a direction we haven't even considered.
Maybe she should just say no to both of them, break free from all the expectations and forge her own path.
No, that would be a bold move. It would definitely shake things up. But, you know, it would also be a powerful statement about individual freedom.
It would be like saying, I'm not going to be defined by these roles that society has placed on me. I'm going to make my own destiny.
Exactly. Which is, you know, kind of a radical idea for a play written in the 1630s. But it's also what makes The Lovesick Court so fascinating. Brome isn't afraid to challenge the status quo and make us question the assumptions of his time.
And he does it all with this amazing sense of humor. I mean, we've got these crazy situations, these larger-than-life characters, but there's always this underlying wit that keeps it from getting too heavy.
Yeah, the humor is key. Like, think about the rustic mechanics who foil Stratical's plan. That's classic comedic relief.
And Geron, he's like the ultimate clueless authority figure.
He is.
Yeah.
And even the twins' self-sacrifice, it's so over the top that it becomes almost comical.
It's like Brome is saying, look, life is full of drama and intrigue, but let's not forget to laugh at ourselves along the way.
Right. It's all about finding that balance, acknowledging the seriousness of life, but also remembering that sometimes a little bit of laughter is the best medicine.
Speaking of laughter, there's another aspect of the Lovesick Court that I wanted to touch on, the supernatural elements.
Oh yeah, the play's definitely got a mystical side to it. We've got the oracle's cryptic pronouncements, Udina's prophetic dream, and then there's Garula, the midwife. She's always lurking around, dropping hints and prophecies.
The girl is like the neighborhood gossip, but with magical powers.
Exactly. She adds this whole other layer of intrigue to the story. And it makes you wonder, like, how much of what happens is actually fate? And how much is just, you know, human choice?
It's the age-old question. Are we masters of our own destiny, or are we just puppets dancing to a tune we can't hear?
Right. And Brome doesn't give us any easy answers. He uses these supernatural elements to explore that tension, that mystery of what forces are really at play in our lives.
When it's not just about those big pronouncements from the oracle, it's also about those little moments of intuition, those whispers of something beyond the everyday, like with Garula and her folk wisdom.
Yeah, she's like this embodiment of everyday magic, the kind that exists in the stories and traditions of a community.
It's like Brome is saying that maybe there's more to the world than we can see, that maybe there are forces at work that we don't fully understand.
Right, and it's up to us to be open to those possibilities, to listen to those whispers, and to trust our own intuition.
So we've got all these threads weaving together: love, ambition, fate, the supernatural, and all wrapped up in this hilarious, thought-provoking package.
It's a lot to take in, but that's what makes The Lovesick Court so rewarding.
Yeah.
It's a play that stays with you long after you've finished reading it.
So where do we go from here? What's the big takeaway?
Well, if you connect all the dots, I think Brome is suggesting that true happiness might not be about winning the throne or the girl. It might be about something deeper,
Like what?
like pursuing virtue, cherishing friendship, embracing those qualities that make us truly noble, no matter what our circumstances are.
So it's not about the external rewards, but about the inner journey.
Exactly. It's about becoming the best version of ourselves. And you see that in the twins' unwavering bond, in their willingness to sacrifice their own desires for the sake of each other.
And in Udina's forgiveness of Straticles, that's a pretty powerful act of mercy.
It is. It suggests that compassion and forgiveness are like essential virtues, especially in a world that often feels so focused on winning and getting ahead.
The Lovesick Court is like a breath of fresh air. It reminds us that there's a different way to live, a way that prioritizes kindness and integrity over power and personal gain.
And it's even more interesting when you consider like the historical context. This play, The Lovesick Court, it premiered in England in the 1630s.
Ooh, okay, so that was a pretty intense time, right?
It was. England was going through a lot of upheaval back then. Lots of social and political tension,
I see. So was Brome, like, intentionally trying to reflect those crazy times in his play?
Well, it's hard to say for sure, but it's definitely interesting to think about. I mean, the play might be set in ancient Greece, but there are all these little hints that point to what was going on in England at the time.
Ooh, like what? Give me some examples.
Well, take Stratocles. He's that super ambitious guy who manipulates the common people to get what he wants, right?
Right. Mr. Popularity.
Exactly. And that was a big thing in Brome's England, too. There were all these powerful figures, guys like John Pym and the Earl of Strafford, who were stirring things up, challenging the king. Sound familiar?
It's like Stratocles is a stand-in for all those real-life schemers. That's pretty clever. So Brome was sneaking in some social commentary under the guise of a comedy.
He was a sly one, that's for sure. And it wasn't just Stratocles. Remember how the king is so indecisive about his successor? Well, that kind of reflects the uncertainty that a lot of people in England were feeling at the time. Like, things were changing rapidly and nobody knew what the future held.
Yeah, it's like the whole country was on edge, waiting for something to happen.
Exactly. So yeah, you could say that The Lovesick Court captures that feeling of a world in transition, a world where the old rules no longer apply and anything is possible.
It makes you wonder, like, how audiences back then reacted to the play. Did they pick up on all those parallels?
Oh, I bet they did. It probably felt super relevant to them, like they could laugh at the characters' antics, but also see how it connected to their own lives and the anxieties they were facing.
So it wasn't just entertainment, it was like social commentary disguised as a comedy.
Exactly. But, even with all that serious stuff going on, The Lovesick Court never loses its sense of fun.
Right, it's not like some gloomy political lecture or anything.
No way. Brome makes sure to keep things light and entertaining. You've got the slapstick humor of the country folk, Guérin's pompous cluelessness, even the twins' over-the-top brotherly love. It's all part of the charm.
It's like he's saying, hey, the world might be a mess, but let's not forget to have a good laugh along the way.
Exactly. It's all about perspective.
Yeah.
Right? Finding that balance between taking things seriously and not taking ourselves too seriously.
So after diving deep into The Lovesick Court, where do you think we've landed? What's the big takeaway for our listeners?
Well, I think Brome is reminding us that sometimes true happiness isn't about achieving some big goal or winning some grand prize.
It's not about the destination.
No, it's about the journey. It's about focusing on the things that really matter. Virtue, friendship, kindness, the things that make us better people.
And maybe having a little fun along the way.
Exactly. Don't forget to laugh even when things get tough. And I think that's a message that's just as relevant today as it was back in Brome's time.
Couldn't agree more. Well, I think we've officially conquered this deep dive into The Lovesick Court. It's been a wild ride with all the love triangles, political scheming, and mysterious oracles.
It has been a blast. Thanks for having me.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this adventure. We hope you've enjoyed this deep dive as much as we have. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep the conversation going.